we're always looking for ways to try and make them faster. That's how my love for turbochargers was born.
Okay, boys, here's the car. Let's start off by who's doing what. Car's got shocks. Those are old shocks, my man. What are we going to do with these? Fuel top for that tank that we got supplied.
Taking the engine out. What were previously confined to racetracks and rally circuits of the world, now found in your daily driver. High-tech turbochargers. This is a story about TurboDirect, a company in little old South Africa. We've designed and manufactured, as well as tested our own universal roller bearing turbocharger. We found a 24-hour endurance race to test this turbocharger through a trial by fire. Join us for this exciting journey filled with thrills and spills, designs, manufacturing, engineering, where we test this turbocharger through a grueling 24-hour race. Down that main straight, I want the power there, so I don't want to run off or run out of power up top in the high RPM. At this point, we never knew what the spec of the turbocharger should be for the racetrack. We discussed that, myself, Steve and Gary, over a cup of coffee, and I think we found a solution. The horsepower is easy. I think the response is going to be the challenge. I'm going to go with a tight clearance on the tongue to the turbine inducer. I'm going to use a larger AR turbine housing, just in case we run short on top. So
what are we going? 0.93?
0.79. So I've got something in between the norm, which is a 79, and symmetrical, fully symmetrical.
Chris has just launched the new TurboDirect Turbo. We're very, very excited. It's the first South African-made turbo, and we're very, very proud to be associated with TurboDirect. It's a quality product. It's a well-researched product. Chris has been in the game for a long, long time, and he's very passionate about what he does, and he has a wealth of knowledge. This is going to be a game changer internationally as well as nationally.
I think we're going to have some fun down the back straight. And then it's it'll spool quick. It'll spool fast because the inducer is small.
You don't need too much boost. Have you got a way of giving it a fix, like a push to pass button or something?
Yeah, we do. In the management, yeah.
Okay. To win a 24-hour race, you just have to keep going.
You have to finish. You have to be in it to win it. If you finish 24-hour race, that's a big achievement.
Okay.
Should we go racing?
Yeah. Let's hit it. I thought I'd share some technical information about how the turbocharger goes together, what it bolts to, and how the actual turbo works, real quick. So what we have in the picture here is the exhaust manifold, or branch, as other people term this. And this is essentially what connects to the engine. You'll see that there's 6 ports over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 6-cylinder engine. All of the gases coming out of the engine that go to the turbocharger are routed via the manifold. In this specific case, we've got a 6 into 2 into 1. And what that means is there's 3 cylinders going into one, the other 3 going to a separate single collector, and then those 2 join in the main collector that then enter the turbine housing, which I will then show you over there. That's the inlet to the turbine housing, and that obviously those gases then scroll around the volute, drive the turbocharger, and on the opposite side you have an air inlet, which is essentially where your air filter will mount. The air filter filters the incoming air, gets sucked into the compressor, which then compresses that, creates your boost, and obviously this comes out of the compressor housing to your intercooler. Right guys, manifolds on, turbo's here. We've machined a little V-band adapter. Chris, if you can maybe just sort the inside of that out so we can port it to the inlet of the turbine housing. We have to cut off this flange. Gary, what do you reckon?
Yeah, let's chop it off, whack it on, weld it on, job done. Downpipe will fit nicely.
Yeah, we're going to have to just make sure this is low enough so we can get bonnet clearance. Okay, so let's have a look and see what sort of height you're dealing with here. The exhaust manifold we made didn't really fit the turbocharger under the hood. So we had to cut off a few flanges and reposition and shorten and modify the collector. But eventually we got it right. All right, so remember we asked Chris to take that little V-band adapter, the V-band flange, and just open it up so we can port match it to the inlet of the turbine housing. He's done that, and he's going to now part off 15 mils to shorten that flange so we can drop the height of the turbo so that the bonnet can close without touching the top of the turbo. Just putting the turbine housing back onto the turbo and just nipping up the bolts so we can set up orientation. We've just gone over the inside with a flap sander and ported this little V-band adapter to the turbine housing, and this turbo is pretty much ready to go. So Chris has welded up the manifold, and I think that it is almost time for us to actually fit this guy onto the car. Get this downpipe, it's just been welded. Angle this, we'll leave this loose so we can just turn the dangle of the angle, and then we can get the next section located, lined up, and we'll weld that piece on next. So Chris is, man, that man's welding and fabrication abilities are off the charts. He's literally comes to the car, takes a measurement, goes behind the CNC mill, comes back with an almost perfectly welded, it looks like it's been laser welded pipe, which gets trial fitted onto the car. It fits perfectly first time, and he moves on to the next piece. Today, TurboDirect is the largest importer and distributor of all OEM brand turbochargers. We hold agencies directly with the manufacturers. We supply brand new complete turbochargers. We offer repairs in the most advanced repair center in Africa. We offer repair parts to the repair industry, and we head up an organization called the Turbocharger Remanufacturers Organization. Welcome, guys. This is one of the facilities at TurboDirect headquarters. In the manufacturing facility that we have here, we've got a number of different sections. We're standing in the finishing and inspection, QC, high-speed balancing and flow calibration department, which then obviously once that is complete, the next step would be moving on to the packaging department. So what we're going to do here today is go over further on from the interview that myself, Steve and Gary had about the discussion as to what sort of AR turbine housing, spec components, etc. that we're going to be using internally to the turbocharger for this race. And I will show you some of those components now, and we will more than likely build 2 turbochargers, which we're going to test ourselves on the car before the race, and just make sure that we are happy with the results before we decide on one, and obviously that turbocharger will be the one that we will race. All right, guys, so first of all, this is a ball bearing turbocharger. This is the ball bearing cartridge that will be running inside of the heart of the bearing housing. Here's your bearing housing. The cartridge will basically slide in and operate in a fashion like that. We have a insert or a little back plate. It has a number of different names, and obviously a sealing O-ring as well, which would fit inside of the bearing housing like that. We have an option of running our lightweight 9-blade semi-full disc back turbine shaft with an 8mm rotational shaft, and we have an option of running the traditional style GT shaft with the larger scallops at the back disc, also 8mm. And the reason that we have these two shafts here is primarily because of the fact that we want to make sure we get the best boost response with as little back pressure as possible. Real basics, guys. This is the inducer of the turbine blade. That's where the gases come in. So the gases will enter through the turbine housing and they will come into contact with these blades, the wider section first. And obviously these are the blades that the gases exit through. So that is known as the inducer for the gas inlet, exducer for the gas exit. Now that little section there which converges on the inside of the housing is known as the tongue. You'll notice a really specific shape and angle that leads up to the tongue over there. Now we manufacture these shafts ourselves. This grind on the blades is done by us, and we have the freedom of increasing or reducing the diameter of the inducer blades as well as the exducer blades, depending on what the purpose of the rotational assembly is. We've done the same or a similar grind to the GT style blade. We've chosen the AR79 housing. This is the exact housing we're going to be using. It's the 30 family and AR79. It's a stainless steel housing that has been burst containment tested. Should there be a burst in the rotating assembly, the housing will contain the burst and no debris will fly out of the turbo. And the design of the volute on the inside is fully symmetrical. So if you slice this down the middle from top to bottom, the left-hand side shape and the right-hand side shape is a mirror image of one another. So that is another one of the other features that we have with these housings. Sparrow fought, it's early. We had a long night last night. There's a hell of a lot done to the car and there's a lot more to go. We've got about 48 hours to go before scrutineering and it feels like we're not going to make it. We're in the last phases of the build of the car. We're under massive pressure. There's a lot of work still to be done and we've got to get to scrutineering. The pressure's on. We don't know if we're going to pass scrutineering or not. Gary, we've done so much to the car. I think what we need to do is just give the viewers an idea of what sort of level of work and achievement we've done so far. Where are we?
100% right.
Where are we?
Boys have been cracking on here. So we have mounted the intercooler. We made a whole subframe in the front here to mount the new custom radiator, intercooler, oil cooler. Oil cooler we're still busy with, and we'll plumb that up. Intercooler's made with all the boost pipes, which have been fabricated, all the silicon pipe from Turbodirect, the intercooler from Turbodirect, engine gearbox mounted. The prop shaft guy was here yesterday and we've got that all measured up and coming in. The brakes from Vari Racing. Downpipe has been made, exhaust is currently being made, and you'll probably see Chris walking past in the background every now and then, working on the exhaust. At the same time, a roll cage has been installed. The seat has been set up, it's positioned. We had to make a modification to the roll cage after it was done, just so that we can make sure we can get in and out of the car as fast as possible and it doesn't, the crossbar doesn't interfere with the arms while we're driving. We've taken the throttle body off, we've chucked it because we had a problem with the throttle body, and we've taken the fuel rail off. We've taken the stock injectors from the 1JZ engine out and we've replaced them with stock injectors from a 2J. So we've gone up from 370cc's to 440s, just to give us that little bit more fueling that we need to cool the engine down while we're running. ECU wiring harness has been put together, fuse and relay block has been built, that's mounted in the car, wires have been separated, planning's been done, and that's what I'm going to be doing today, at the same time as all the other guys are going to be working on the car, getting the rest of the stuff done. We're going to produce a aftermarket sump. We're going to make a custom fabricated sump, which we're going to baffle. Because we're racing this car, we want to hold a lot of oil. So we do this to obviously cool the oil down. So we are going to make a baffled sump, which is a lot bigger. We want to hold like 12 liters of oil. Yaku has just finished fitting a short shift kit and made some new bushes for their gearbox and their gear lever. So we've now got a nice short shift kit. As you can see, look at my guys' fabrication. My boys really are the best in the business. Prop shaft will be here later today as well. That'll get bolted in. So yeah, we're moving and shaking, moving and shaking.
48 hours to go, and we are almost at scrutinium. Put a blow off valve. Yeah, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What are you spending so much time on there? What are you making?
This is our fuel filler, the fuel top for that tank that we got supplied. Spending lots of time on this because obviously we don't want a fire hazard. It's a safety issue.
Fuel is good, fire is not. Gary took it upon himself to make a billet fuel cover for the extended range tank. It took forever.
Would you like to burn, Chris? How would that be?
No. Gary, you just carry on with what you're doing, pal.
So that's it complete. What we have here is we have a filler, which is this piece here, which is a quick filler. This will then screw onto this AN fitting, which is the part we've just welded in. That's what will actually allow us to refuel the vehicle. So we've got a refueling rig with a clip on that clips on here, and it pushes fuel in through this little nozzle here. We then attach this to the breather of the fuel tank, and then this one here is where we suck the fuel out of the tank. So underneath this then bolts on top of the fuel tank and becomes one. So that's where the fuel goes into the tank. That's where it breathes out of, and this here gets a pipe connected to it with a little bobbin weight at the end of it, which sits at the bottom of the fuel tank, and that ensures that there's always petrol being sucked out of the tank and it doesn't start sucking air. And that's it. Custom made at the Machining Man.
This big mess is a work in progress. So we just got this bonnet back from the paint shop. How's that for a stunning paint job?
Are they strong? How quite strong is it? Is it BMW E36 amazing throttle body strong? Mechanical stuff's always cool. Change just change the pitch. Yep. Right, so there we had to pop into the e-bike cafe, bicycle shop, to get accelerator cable for a BMW at a bicycle shop. How cool is that, eh? Making bicycle parts work on a BMW E36 race car. But you know, bicycle parts and cars are the same thing, aren't they? They are when you got a grinder.
One of those sponges that stick.
Oil temp, oil pressure, and we're going to have a turbo speed and boost gauge in one. We're in the last phases of the build of the car. We're under massive pressure. There's a lot of work still to be done, and we've got to get to scrutineering. The pressure's on. We don't know if we're going to pass scrutineering or not. I'm just going to phone the organisers and just tell them that we're running a bit late, if they can just
Forgive us.
forgive us. Okay, so he said that just bring the car as it is. The scrutineers will basically say what needs to be changed. They'll guide you. This has to be fixed, this has to be replaced, it's got to be bolted, it's got to be welded, whatever the case might be. It's got to be done inside of the next week. So it gives us a bit of time to correct whatever it is that they're going to find wrong with the car before the actual race. So we're going to just finish up whatever it is that we're busy with right now, load the car and finish. Hey, how's it? No. You fit. Hey, bro, but check where your knees are. I agree. Tell Gary.